Welcome to the speaker series on a shot glass of recovery. This podcast is a place for real stories, honest conversations, and recovery lived one day at a time. The views and opinions shared here are simply our own personal experiences. We do not speak for or represent Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole.
You get a house, you get a car, then you start thinking that's all you are, but you don't know the truth. So let me spell it out for you. Now I got your attention, now there's a start. Now sit and listen to my favorite part. Life's been giving us some clues. The answer lies inside of you.
Hi everybody. My full name is Rajneesh. Peppa's my nickname, and I'm most definitely an alcoholic. And it is an honor, a privilege, and an absolute blessing to be here present, to be carrying the message of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I will give it my best. My sober date is the 6th of January, 2021. The pandemic took lives and it saved this alcoholic's life. And here at Solution Seekers, thank you, Heather, for chairing today. Daniel, Tricia, Wendy and Mike for reading, and Karen G for scribing and keeping us informed with the format of this meeting. What a beautiful way to begin a Sunday. This is the day I haven't been on this Sunday here before the 14th of June, 2026. This is one day at a time for me. When I first, what was I like? I was born into a Sikh family. I'm the youngest out of 4, and I was born in East Africa in a small town in Eldoret in Kenya, and immigrated to the UK at the age of 12. And I thought that was my problem. And I'd lost my father to this disease. In my experience, from what I know, my father didn't make it to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was 12 years old when I lost my father. He was 52 years of age. And I'm grateful to God. I've celebrated my 53rd birthday. I'm 5 months sober, a day at a time. And I knew nothing about alcoholism. I just thought I drink a little bit too much. When I first came in to the rooms, it was online meetings that was the only platform I knew. And what a blessing. From the very first meeting, I knew I was in the solution. And no matter what, this program works in rough going also. I didn't just get here, skip, hop, jumping. There were consequences. I drank for 30 years from the age of 17 till 48 and came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. A broken woman, a fallen, silly little drunk that could not piece her life together. They say the disease, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells us it progresses quickly in women, and it absolutely did. But I was trying to control it before. Anything I'd ever tried before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous never worked. This is my only solution, and I'm grateful to be in the solution. And how do I get to this solution is it was the day of my mother's funeral that I came to you guys, broken. I'd hit my daughter in blackout and I couldn't remember. What is a blackout? I'd had a drink, I was awake, but I could not remember my actions from the night before. And that wasn't the only type of consequences. My toxic tongue abused people on text, on calls, and I had no recollection. But you see, the disease of alcoholism progressed very quickly when my mum was pronounced with leukemia, and I tried, but I didn't know that I suffer with alcoholism, which is a disease whereby I'm at dis-ease with myself, and it's an illness where I have an obsession of the mind. And when I picked up that first drink, the first required 2, the 2, 4, the 4, 8, and the 8, 16, and so forth. So I, have the obsession of the mind and allergy to alcohol. And when I came here, I needed to get a sponsor. You all spoke about what is a sponsor for me. A sponsor is a step guide, my step guide who has taken me through all 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that is my treatment to this spiritual malady. It is a prescription for living, 164 pages and a few forwards and prefaces at the beginning, which I never read, even for my degrees or anything, because I was so grandiose when I first walked in here. I was 48 years old, a graduate, an Indian woman. How could I be an alcoholic? But I knew that if I came here, you guys are going to teach me how to drink safely. But that certainly hasn't been it. And I'd just like to read on page 13 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. My friend promised when these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my Creator, that I would have the elements of a way of living which answered all my problems. Belief in the power of God plus enough. There's conditions here what I need. Willingness, honesty, and humility to establish and maintain a new order of things were the essential requirements. And these are the principles, right? So my friend, when my step guide said to me that this could work for me, and I thought I'm going to give this a shot, but she should be so lucky. I was 3 years sober. I changed sponsors 2 years ago, and I thought she's so lucky. I'm already 12 steps. I won't be such hard work. But you know what, guys? I didn't have any experience with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was sponsored differently. And whichever way you're being sponsored, for me, the solution lies in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous by taking action of step 1 through 12 in the order that I set out. Did I really want to listen? Not really. Did I want to do all the work? No, because step 1 was telling me I will drink again. And I thought, this is serious. But, it is a deadly disease. It's so cunning, baffling, and powerful that when I was abstinent before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I thought I just needed to control this. And I got this because I was getting away with a lot. The drink drive has been part of my story, and that was in 2006. And I didn't make it to the rooms till 2021. So I lived in a lot of pain, not realizing there is a solution and I am the problem, because putting the drink down is only but the beginning. I will drink again. I need to find a power greater than myself. That becomes a big deal for some. For me, I was beaten enough, and God gave me the open-mindedness and the willingness. I kept praying for the willingness to do this work. It's not easy, but the pay is great. And finding a power, you simply need to believe, there's something bigger than Peppa. And in step 3, I get fired. Peppa Power's fired. I have a new employer who I choose to call God. I was so shy from using the word God because I thought you guys think I'm religious. People out there, my employers, everybody would want to lock me up. But it's the God of my understanding. And on here, I get to see, when I first logged in, I was getting kind of nervous, guys. There's 28 people, but here there's 43 higher powers here present. And how powerful is that? That's far bigger. And in each and every one of you resides the God of my understanding too. So how will I leave you guys feeling? I can't guarantee. I'm here to carry the message. I say, God, please give me the words, use my mouth, and, let me carry this message to the best of my ability. And when Peppa Power gets fired, she's ready to write step 4 and 5, which is resentment, fear, and the sex inventories. Resentment is a refeeling of a negative emotion. And this is what the disease of alcoholism is like. I don't just arrive at a resentment. It all starts from fear, where we get to look in depth at the fears that I have. I had fears of traveling in cars, the birds, I'm so unique and so special, but I'm not so. I get to find out. This is a program of subtraction. That isn't the fear that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous speaks about. The fear that I have steals experiences from me. It makes me resentful because the longer I live in this fear, it leads to a resentment. I get dishonest with that. It steals experiences from me on a daily basis. Thank you, God, and Alcoholics Anonymous and each and every one that went before me here in AA to carry this message to me. I show up for work, guys, on a Monday. How about that? I get to show up. And if there's a patient on the list and I keep seeing their name reappearing, I'm thinking, I am an alcoholic. It's not about the bottles anymore. It's my thinking, oh man, this is going to be hard work. What do they need this time? But that isn't up to me. I prayed in the morning for the step 3 prayer. I offer myself to God, and that is my new job description. But how quickly do I go into self-will? Because I'm judgy. I'm coming from the spiritual hilltop. I'm better than others because I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. No, it's all contingent on what I do, how I work with others. Do I pray? Do I read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous? Am I helping other people? It's not always possible. I'm more fired than hired as a sponsor, and that's okay. And it does hurt my little feelings, guys. But guess what? There's a beautiful inventory process there. It doesn't eradicate everything immediately. But when I get to do the inventory with my sponsor, get to see, and I can even use the sex inventory questions to see how I harm others. I don't have to be in a romantic relationship with them, but the line of questioning that takes me to, where did I create bitterness? Where did I create jealousy? Because I'm an attention-seeking whore. I really do, I'm a missile that's ready to erupt, an acetone bomb that's ready to come in at people without taking action, these 12 steps and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And looking at all that, usually I pray and I say, God, please help me, remove me from this fear, and how can I be helpful to this patient? Show me how to be. When I call, guess what, guys? Sometimes they don't need my help at all. The problem's been solved. Or they've gone out and sought other help. And there's another one. How about the 90% of the time they don't pick up my call? So you see, that fear would have stolen that experience, and what happens is it carries on till the end of the day. I haven't done a step 10 on that. I start to feel irritated, and then I'm an absolute pain in the ass to my family in the home, to my work colleagues, to anybody whose life I touch on that day. So you see, I am the problem, not everybody else. No other person, no place, no situation. And the Serenity Prayer beautifully describes that I cannot. I have the expectation that people should follow what I say. I'm sneaky with that. But that isn't, how it works. How it works is Peppa needs to follow those directions. And in step 5, I get to my step guide received my step 4. And then in 6, I get to have a quiet hour whereby I get presented with some defects of character. How can I be defective, guys? I'm pretty cool, looking all right for 48, nearly dying when I first came here. And even now, this ego can arrive. What is ego to me? I edge God out. Pepper power returns and Sergeant Pepper appears there. And that is painful. It's painstaking. And there is growth from there, provided if I do the inventory, if I do a step 10, if I do a step 11, but I don't always want to do it. Factory settings are good because that's my comfort zone, and I'm going to sit there, baby in the corner, feeling absolutely horrible about myself and being awful to others too. And I have the quiet hour in step 6. If there's anything I've missed off on the first 5 principles, the 5 questions that we ask, is there anything that I've left off? And guess what? If it comes up, it's okay. If it doesn't, be ready to share it. And that's why it's a step that we live in. This is where we go into action on a daily basis. Anything comes up, I know it needs to go on my daily evening review. Do I always do it? No. I do the evening review, and sometimes I miss things off too. Because it's the book of Alcoholics Anonymous already promises me spiritual progress, not spiritual perfection. Because one of my defects of character, guys, shocker to me, was perfectionism. I thought, I thought my step guide was actually complimenting me, but that isn't it so. This perfectionism sets me up to fail because I hold people to expectations I do not meet myself. The big hilltop that I come from, standing above everybody else, looking down, and how about I can manage my ego and my image maintenance and how good I look as an AA. I'm the best speaker. I'm the best chair you guys are going to hear. But all these thoughts, it's a program of subtraction. I can simply do the best of my ability for today. And I no longer feel by taking action of these 12 steps in step 7, whereby I get on my knees and I pray to God and say, please, have all of me, good and bad, because I don't know what's good or bad for me anymore, but I'm willing to find out. And with that prayer, I want to negotiate with God sometimes, oh man, just take this defect of character away. Hello? You've been fired, Peppa. What's going on with you? So just be willing and pray for more willingness. I feel crunchy on days. I feel hurt. I feel upset. But that's okay, because now I'm learning how to feel things. And what is my solution? Do the inventory so that I get closer to God. The idea of inventory is not to impress you all in AA, not to impress my sponsor, my step guide, or my sponsees, what a great, step guide I am. But, being a step guide also, I have a step guide. She's got one. They've all got a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Pretty cool kids with the highlighter, a pen. And I am a step guide too. But the competition has calmed down a lot in me. I don't know who I'm called to be today also, but one thing I know is I had a commitment here today that I needed to show up for, and I prayed. I wake up an hour and a half before I'm due to start anything, and that is with prayer, some meditation, and to show up. I have another commitment that came up, and it wasn't part of my plan, guys, today. So you can see easily I can be disturbed. But thank you, God, and thank you, Alcoholics Anonymous, for this beautiful program. As soon as we finish here, I get to go and drop my daughter, who was ready to walk out on me 5 years, 5 months ago. And recently I've become a grandmother to a 12-week-old baby boy. And he is such a blessing, so adorable. And thank you, God, that I get to be part of his life. I don't have to beg, screech. This is a life. It's not beyond my wildest dream. I never even imagined this. But as a young girl, this is the woman I aspired to be, one day at a time. And now it's here. I can get complacent with the program, but that's not the deal. This is for the rest of my life, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, a minute at a time. And that is by, asking God to remove the defects of character. When I do, can I promptly make amends, pray for people, do what's the next best thing, which I don't always know. And in step 8, we get to make a list, look at step 4. And this is when we get ready to make an approach. And you guys are spiritual giants. And thank you for helping me. But I need a help from a step guide to make the approach, because when I initially came in, and there are some days I can feel that way now too, I want to go around apologizing, just saying sorry to everybody. But there's a whole instruction in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous at the top of page 80, that we need to make an approach, consult others, which is my step guide, and we need to pray to see for the willingness for this, because I've never, ever looked at all the wrongs that I had ever done. Everybody else was to blame. So it's not natural for me to say, nah, I'm going to go out there and make amends. I'm full of fear when I get there, because it's not going to go with the deal that I want. And making that approach, and then I forget things. So I make little bullet points of what I need to say, but where have I been, inconsiderate to these people? How have I used them? I don't need to give a whole full shebang of things, but I need to, be honest with things like stepping out in relationships and all that. Oh my God, was I scared? But I prayed for God to remove me from this fear. And none of my amends went the way I thought. And they were not bad, they were not good, they went the way they did. Because the whole purpose of the amends, again, is not for me to impress anybody, but it is to do God's work well. And once I do that work, it promises in the big book that, he will take care of things. He will make paths for me. I've got to put the action in, because this is not a program of into feelings, into thinking, into gossip, which I don't do, but I listen to other people talking about others. I am guilty of that, but I don't live in that anymore. I'm practicing to work boundaries and to honor my limitations of what I can and cannot do. And in step 9, going out there to make amends, like I said, none of them really went the way Peppa Power thought, but God showed me some beautiful ways, making amends to my daughter, and she followed into our fellowship 2 years, 10 months ago, a day at a time. And she works the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and lovely reading from Mike there on Tradition 6, two hats I wear. I'm a mother and a fellow in Alcoholics Anonymous. I need to be careful with that. and how I can have expectations from her, and I don't work with her, I work on her. And it's hard to maneuver through to know when to be her mum, when to be in AA, but I give it a good shot. I practice it. I'm never going to get this perfect. It is spiritual progress with everything. And in step 10, I get to see, I watch, where am I dishonest? Where am I, resentful? And where am I fearful to get to do that? And then I share it with another alcoholic. So in text form, because my step guide is from New York, I send her a text and I share it with her. And then I pray for God to remove me from this and direct my attention to what he would have me be, and quickly turn my attention to another person. Doesn't always look like that I will communicate with somebody in Alcoholics Anonymous. I could be at work and I'll be calling the next patient. And then going on to step 11, whereby it's prayer and meditation. And there is also, this is where I get to, when I'm speaking to God, I'm praying. When I'm listening, I get to meditate. And I practice a Hawaiian meditation of, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it is just beautiful. And my little grandson absolutely adores it. He starts smiling. He's learning how to smile. He's teaching me how to communicate without words and have his needs met. And he loves the meditation. But if you're really into his type of meditation, and it does make you drowsy, but he likes the white sound of a hairdryer, and there's lots of YouTubes and everything for that. But that is Isaiah's version of his meditation that he does. And then I get to write an evening review. You can write it by hand, or it's available on the Everything AA app. There is, I believe it's with the tab of gratitude list and the evening review, and there's 7 questions there. So if there's anything I've missed throughout the day where I didn't get to do a step 10 and I'm feeling like I'm getting heartburn, Gaviscon isn't the answer. It might be, but how about I do a little bit of inventory around that and see if there's anything I've missed off there. And in step 12, there's so many of you, Heather, Daniel, Trisha, Wendy, Mike, Karen G, and all of the 43 higher powers present on here. We're all doing service by showing up for recovery a day at a time. The amends we make to ourselves is not picking up that first drink. And the most recent where am I at is, like I said, I became a grandmother 12 weeks ago, and how wonderful that I get to be present. They live 2 hours away from me. It's not a big deal for other people, but it's, for me, the 2 hours through the city and London and everything. But whatever it is, thank you, God, that I get to show up. I have a home group, which is ODAT. I get to do service. I get to be God's agent, and not Peppa Power on there either, not my will. How can I serve the group best? I try with that. I am a step guide, and, I've fallen in love with my sponsees by receiving their 5th step. So it's not by what I do. It's when I take other women through the work, is how I get to learn how to live in this. And service isn't just in Alcoholics Anonymous. How do I get to, carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous and be a demonstration of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in my job, in my home, my daughter's partner really loves our way of life. He likes hearing about the big book. And this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is not specific to alcoholics only. It is a spiritual way of living. The book says that. And he's got one. And he usually says, oh, would you like to borrow my big book when I go over? So how wonderful is it that, we get to carry this message? One of my amends I didn't get to make. I say that because it's very current for me. And it was a financial one. I stole £20 from this lady, and I tried to pay it back, but I got hold of her daughter to find out that the lady that I owed the money to is having kidney dialysis and is pretty much end of life. And this was a year and a half ago, and I never got the opportunity to make that amends. And last month, it was a month ago, nearly. Yeah. And I received a message from her daughter with a video call from this woman telling me that she loves me, and it was her last days. And I didn't get to pay that money back, but what I got to do was, meet up with her daughter, extend my condolences to the family, And you know what, guys? I don't know what this amends looks like because, yes, I got to donate the £20, but I don't know if that was all God's will is, because this woman's son, maybe one of us, is active in other substances, and her beautiful daughter shared that they lost their father to this disease. And she asked for a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we just get to do what we can. And I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not here to compete, and I'm very grateful to be present. And the baby shower that my daughter's going to today, which I get to drop her without resentment because I'm not invited, because don't forget, Sergeant Pepper's very important. Not, I have a new employer. And the baby shower she's going to today is her friend who shortly followed her into the fellowship, and she's having a baby shower, another sober young mum that we get to be, present for. I'll drop them off, and that's all I got. And if anybody is struggling out there, it is a we program. You don't have to do this alone. Let us help you. We don't know what the help looks like. And, it's not always, I don't always get to sponsor all the women that I could help because I can't sponsor everybody. But, I'll give it my best shot. And I so thank Carolina in her absence for inviting me to speak. But, if there's nothing on here that was on offer from this, please do make other meetings. There are plenty of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, whether they're online, in person. I do both, and I get a lot from this. This is the only way I wish to live. And thank you all for helping me and having me here. And some of you are in Toronto, and I may be visiting there around about September. It's not sure because my niece is living out there and she is having her master's graduation, and the date is to be confirmed. So I don't know if I'll make it to in-person meetings, but this is what Alcoholics Anonymous and God have offered me in life, to get closer to God. And the ripple effect is my family can stand to be around me. I love you all, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to enjoy a shot glass of recovery. If you'd like to help support the show, you can make a voluntary contribution through PayPal at A Shot Glass of Recovery. Every donation, no matter the amount, helps cover the costs of producing the podcast and allows us to keep sharing stories of hope and recovery. Thanks again for your support. It truly means a lot.
Everything you do, the answer lies inside you.